Yo, what up? You know what it is. It's your boy AJ Francis reporting to you live from New York City, the birthplace of hip-hop. And I'm telling you that I'm only tuned in with True Heel Heat Wrestling. Holla at me.
What's up, everyone? It's the Interview Queen Alicia Toot here, and be sure to watch True Heel Heat.
Hey guys, it's Thunder Rosa and welcome to True Heel Heat.
What's up, guys? It's Wolverine, Death Machine, Mr. GMSI himself, Brian Cage, and you're watching True Heel Heat. Who better? Nobody.
I'm serious. I'm not going to sit back and take this fucking shit.
Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. We are live on the True Hill Heat YouTube, Facebook, and the homie Romeo's Twitter for Collision Discourse, the return of Collision Discourse, number 41 for the September 14th, 2024 edition of AEW Collision, as only we can. And to do that, I am running solo once again. Solo Jones. No AE ramble in the background. Switch that up. It's Collision Discourse. And yes, I'm running solo once again. So guy JJ did not get back to me. Like I always try to pull back the curtain to y'all. I hit him up. He was all good. He was all good to go, but didn't answer me on when he was ready to do it. So I said, you know what? I've had enough waiting. Had enough waiting around to do a Collision Discourse. I haven't done a Collision Discourse since I was emotionally scarred from Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara winning the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships about a month and a half ago, give or take. But now I am back. We are back to talk about Collision Discourse number 41 for the September 14th, 2024 edition of AEW Collision. I appreciate y'all if you're watching us live. I appreciate y'all if you're watching us on demand. Remember to show your appreciation back the simplest way possible. Drop the thumbs up on this video. You can share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you are new to the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. But most of all, since I have no guests with me, since Sober Guy ain't here, since I am running solo for this edition of AEW Collision and Collision Discourse, y'all send your super chat donations because I'm gonna highlight as many of your comments as possible. But of course, if you're feeling generous, you want to give back to what we do here, the best way to do that is with a super chat donation. Any dollar amount matters. It goes back to the contributors you see on screen with us here. And for this edition of Collision Discord, I'm running solo. So It's all going to me. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. I'm riding solo because I got to give y'all Collision Discourse. It's been too long. Been too long since I've been gone from talking about Collision with all of you guys. I've actually sent the link for StreamYard to Sober Guy JJ. So if he does pop in, hopefully, Godspeed. We'll see. We'll see if he shows up. But if not, it's just you and me, guys. But let's talk about AEW Collision. This is coming off the heels of the tremendous AEW All Out pay-per-view. If you haven't already, we did a review on that. We also talked about that on the flagship podcast yesterday with myself, True Draw Josh, and special guest Rich Port Ayala. Great conversation that we had with him, getting a worker's perspective of AEW All Out, and everything going on throughout the wrestling world. That was a lot of fun on the flagship, so check that out. That's on the homepage. But this edition of Collision, it kicked off, and it was from the Nutter Center. Am I getting that right? Nutter Center? I'm sorry, that popped me too much. The Nutter Center in Dayton, Ohio, and we saw the short bus, as Jimmy Macaram loves to call it, the short bus, bringing in Jack Perry, the TNT champion, on the Scapegoat bus. He walked in from the parking lot and made his entrance. I do like the fact that, from All Out, where we had the special entrance with Jack Perry coming in on the Scapegoat bus, they've kind of made it his thing now. He did the same entrance on Dynamite. He did the same entrance on Collision. They're giving him some type of identity, and they're making him more of the loose cannon and the kind of the unpredictable guy, the loner that I wanted him to originally be. Despite being in the Elite, that doesn't mean that he needs to escape from all of the Scapegoat characteristics that made him successful in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He was a part of House of Torture there, and he was still, very much categorized as an individual, as a loner, if you will. And I think that the Scapegoat bus and his entrance there, and then leaving out on the Scapegoat bus right after he takes care of business, I think it gives him a little bit more of an identity. I know not everybody is into the Scapegoat Jack Perry, but this type of stuff is needed to kind of give him an identity in AEW. He was going one-on-one with Tony Khan Avatar and interim EVP Christopher Daniels, and I'm just like, Daniels, pick a lane. You're already an awful authority figure. I'd much rather you be a wrestler, but pick a lane. If you are going to be an authority figure, then you don't need to be an authority figure at this point. You've just made too many bad decisions that I'm already over it. So I prefer you, as a wrestler, because you've always been one of my favorites from TNA, and Ring of Honor, but I digress. This kicked off the opening contest of Jack Perry going one-on-one with Christopher Daniels. This match came about after Daniels accepted Perry's open challenge on Rampage. It was announced during the entrances to the matchup that Hook will be defending the FTW Championship against Roderick Strong at AEW Dynamite Grand Slam in New York City, Arthur Ashe Stadium. After the opening exchanges, Perry took advantage with a rebound lariat. Perry held serve, scoring a near fall off a missile dropkick. Daniels cut him off the top of his head, but was able to catch Perry with an STO. He fired up and hit another STO, followed by a Death Valley driver for a near fall. He tried to go for the Angel's Wings, but that was countered, leading to a pinning predicament. Perry sending Daniels into the mat with force after holding on to the ropes when he tried for an O'Connor roll. And now Perry has really adopted doing the middle fingers instead of the yeses. He's just flipping off the fans right before he hits one of my favorite names for a finisher, because it fits his character and how we got the Scapegoat, the Splash Jaw knee strike for the 1-2-3. Jack Perry retains the TNT Championship. Perry grabs his title, rushes out of the ring, right back to the parking lot. He's walking to the Scapegoat bus when he looks in the camera, and he says that the people who don't like him are the ones who can't handle the truth. And he then got on his bus and drove away. This was a very short matchup. I think it went just over 5 minutes. I mean, it made Perry look strong, being a former AEW World Tag Team Champion. And no, was he World Tag Team Champion? No, that was Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian. I confused the two. But former Ring of Honor World Champion in Christopher Daniels, an accomplished, veteran of the locker room. But he's also been an authority figure for like the past 3 months. So he hasn't been wrestling all that often. So not as impressive as it would have been a while back, but still another successful title defense for Jack Perry, who is accumulating those after not defending the title for too long after winning it at Forbidden Door. He has victories over Marco Stunt. He's got a victory here. He's got the victory over Leo Rush on Dynamite. So he's picking up on the title defenses, which is really all we can ask for, right? That's all we can ask for. But next, we got Wheeler Yuta. Sad puppy, Wheeler Yuta, following the BCC implosion that went down at All Out. This is the first time that Wheeler Yuta is showing up on AEW television after watching Bryan Danielson being suffocated in a plastic bag by Jon Moxley. He walks in the back and Lexi Nair intercepts him, saying that he didn't want to share any information about Bryan Danielson out of respect for him, Bree, and the kids. But he says that he's doing as best as he can considering what happened at All Out. He hasn't spoken to any of the other BCC members since All Out, and would try to use Danielson's lessons to focus for his match tonight. He literally, at one point, in the middle of like saying all of this, he literally looks in his bag that he rolled into the building, and he says, "Oh, I forgot my boots." Like, he is just so sad. You can see the bags under his eyes. Wheeler Yuta, I said it on our All Out review, he put on one of the best performances character-wise of his whole entire career at All Out, watching Bryan Danielson, getting choked out. And I love the interview that he did following Collision, where he talked about his real life kind of tragedy of his family losing his aunt in Japan. And, he had to deal with that. He found that out on Saturday, right before All Out. And then he kind of compared the two, saying, knowing that she was on her last breaths and struggling to breathe before she passed away, he was reminded of that watching Bryan Danielson being suffocated by Jon Moxley. And he doesn't know why they didn't tell him. He doesn't know why they haven't talked to him since then. So Wheeler Yuta is just putting on some excellent character work. It feels like he's using his real life tragedy and his real life loss in his family and really putting it into his character right now with the loss of the family that he's gotten in AEW in the Blackpool Combat Club following the betrayal by Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli at AEW All Out. So some excellent character work by Wheeler Yuta here, and then he would further that character work in his matchup later on, but we'll get into that in just a moment here. Next up, we had Hologram, the undefeated on Collision Hologram, teaming up with the conglomerations Mark Briscoe and Kyle O'Reilly to face the Beast Mortos and the Premier Athletes Ari Daivari and Tony Nese, with Josh Woods and Smart Mark Sterling in their corner. During the entrances, Sterling explained that he used some of Daivari's money to pay off the Beast Mortos to help the athletes with their conglomeration and hologram problems. Mortos seemingly took control early on with some shoulder blocks onto all three of his opponents, but Hologram came back with a crazy-looking lucha arm drag that sent Mortos to the floor. O'Reilly got caught on the wrong side of the ring, and he basically took the heat in this matchup before we went to commercial break. When we came back, O'Reilly fought hard and got the tag. We came back to him getting the hot tag to Mark Briscoe and getting that redneck kung fu. Some redneck kung fu. I got a little graze in my beard. And he's running wild, getting the buster on Nese for a near fall. Briscoe sent Mortos to the floor, but Nese caught the now legal Hologram with a rolling uppercut. Hologram makes it looked like he was going for a head scissors, and he turns that into a Canadian destroyer. That kicks off a move train of everybody hitting their big moves, turning into a dive train, ending with Briscoe doing a step-up dive off of an interfering Sterling when he tried to move the chair away for the regular step-up dive. Hologram then hits a 720-degree DDT, swinging DDT for the victory here, picking up the win for the baby faces. And Mark Briscoe, before they can celebrate, really, Mortos attacked Hologram before O'Reilly and Briscoe fought him off. But it seems like the conglomeration have a tentative alliance here with Hologram, as Mark Briscoe proclaims that the conglomeration will team with anyone if you ain't a shithead. Gotta love it. Gotta love Mark Briscoe, the best promo in the game. Who is not the best at pretty much anything in AEW right now? It's Chris Jericho. He was a part of the 91st anniversary for CMLO on Friday night, as well as Orange Cassidy. Cassidy was involved in a trios matchup while Jericho wrestled in the main event against Mystico. They did make the mistake in the voiceover that played on the live show that they said that Jericho won against Mystico. No, it was a best 2 out of 3 falls matchup, and Jericho won 1 fall where Mystico won 2 straight against him. So it's okay. They did fix it. If you check on social media, on their social media right now, they did fix that voiceover. And I guess they called Tony. They like, we need you to send another voiceover. Jericho lost. After Jericho's matchup, Orange Cassidy helped Mystico fight off both Jericho and Big Bill post-match attack. Cassidy was in an interview with Renee Paquette, but he was quickly attacked by a big boot by Big Bill. They stuck Cassidy's head in his stolen backpack before Jericho broke the best friend's picture over Cassidy's head, which was in a backpack. Seems a little backwards, and I don't know why this feud is still going on. This feud happened already. It was done and dusted after Mimosa Mayhem back at All Out 2020. That was in September of 2020. We are now in September of 2024, and Chris Jericho is still feuding with Orange Cassidy. I have my good friend Kate over at Fightful. She wanted Orange Cassidy to gain more, to get more TV time, to elevate himself because she believes he can be a main eventer. And I do too. I did, at least after All Out 2023, when he had one of the biggest matches in his career, main eventing that show against Jon Moxley and losing the international championship after a title reign that legitimately, raised his stock and elevated him. He should have been propelled into the main event scene following that. Did not happen. He got stuck with the international championship just a month later and then hold on to that title until March of this year before losing to Roderick Strong. And then he's kind of just been stuck in the mid-card since then. He had the feud with Trent Beretta. He's been a part of the conglomeration, who are stalwarts and always get a consistent amount of TV time, but they're definitely a stalwart of the mid-card, and they have their party matches. They have a bunch of fun, but there's no main event progression for any of the guys in that group, including Orange Cassidy. And putting him in a feud with Chris Jericho does no one any good. It doesn't do Jericho any good because it feels like he's dragging Cassidy even lower than what he was in the mid-card. And for Cassidy, it's just furthering a descent that's really sad when you look at where he was at All Out last year. We get next up, there was a short video, no pun intended, with Stokely Hathaway looking for some AEW tape to watch, and all of his choices were tag team matches from AEW and ROH history. You see Swerve in Our Glory versus The Acclaim. You see a bunch of Young Bucks matches, and then he finishes off. You see FTR versus the Briscoes, and then he goes to Young Bucks versus Sting and Darby Allin, and it seems like Stokely may be interested in recruiting a tag team and going after the tag team titles. Stokely Hathaway is pure gold. He's one of my favorite people in the world. And if you don't know that, then that's Tupac indeed. Stokely Hathaway can do a lot of fun. Any tag team, give me your choices. If you're watching this live, if you're watching this on demand, who do y'all think Stokely Hathaway is going to manage in the tag team division? Let me know what y'all think. We got Alex Powell in the chat. Thanks for joining me today. He says, I just finished Nigel versus Danielson from Rising Above 2008, which, by the way, is a great show with the I Quit matchup. Yes, Rising Above 2008, I very vividly remember the Nigel and Danielson excellent main event, as well as Jimmy Jacobs versus Austin Aries, the blow off of their long rivalry with one another when Jimmy Jacobs was a part of Age of the Fall, and they had the little love triangle with Lacey, who was Austin Aries' girlfriend at the time, but it was Jimmy Jacobs' love interest for all of his Ring of Honor career up to that point. So good choice to watch over on the Honor Club. Honor Club's got some great material, and we'll get into some Honor Club material that was played on this show later in the night. But Nigel McGuinness' favorite wrestler was next up. AEW Women's World Champion Mariah May was backstage with Lexi Nair, where she announced that she wouldn't be having her championship celebration in the Wish version of Cincinnati known as Dayton. May said that she had her best times with Mina Shirakawa and that she needed Shirakawa to properly celebrate her championship win, and they can have some more great times. But before Mariah can finish up this interview, in walked in former TJPW Princess of Princess Champion Yuka Sakazaki. She's back! She's back! She introduced herself. She says, "I'm Yuka." And that she wanted May's title. She said, "I want your title." May says that she will rip Sakazaki's head off. She says, "Get to the back of the line." Sakazaki promptly no-sold her and told her, "Bye," and walked away. And you could tell Mariah May was none too pleased. I'm all here for Yuka Sakazaki. If that's the Grand Slam matchup, give me Mariah May versus Yuka Sakazaki for the AEW Women's World Championship. Quality. I think it's going to be the best title defense of Mariah May's title run so far will be against Yuka Sakazaki. I think she's just a lovable, very likable babyface that can get the crowd behind her. She's a nice underdog for Mariah May to play off of. And I think we're just biding time until Mina Shirakawa returns, where I think Mina will be Mariah May's opponent for Wrestle Dream coming up in October. But the saddest man in All Elite Wrestling was next. 1/3 of the AEW World Trios Champion, Wheeler Yuta, was here, and he was going one-on-one with Anthony Henry. Love Nigel McGuinness on commentary, noting that Yuta forgot to tape his wrists, noting that he wasn't in a good headspace, and he was forgetting some details like that. Henry had control early on, hitting a double foot stomp. Yuta got hit with a forearm and attempted his rebound into the ring, but he just fell to the floor instead. He's just completely depressed. Henry dumped Yuta onto the barricade with a suplex. After a commercial break, Henry was basically beating down on Yuta. He hits a big air raid crash for a near fall. Yuta was able to hit his rebound into the ring on a second attempt, scoring a German suplex. Henry rocked Yuta, though, with a big knee. Then he caught Yuta on the outside with a running drop kick. Henry then came back in with the top rope double foot stomp in the ring for a 2 count. But Henry made a key and crucial mistake. He started mocking Yuta, saying that, "Oh, he's sad over Bryan Danielson," and slapped him across the face. He says, "Oh, you're sad over Claudio Castagnoli," slaps him across the face again. He says, "Oh, you're sad about Jon Moxley," and you could see Wheeler Yuta firing up. And then he completely snaps. He starts clobbering down on Henry in the corner, stomping him in the face. He takes Henry to the outside and takes him to each barricade, throwing him hard into the barricade around the ring. He puts him back into the ring. He even blasts Henry's second cousin, Beef. My boy Beef on his AEW Collision debut, getting a sucker punch. Come on, Yuta. You don't need this. You don't need to sucker punch Beef. Yuta drilled Henry with the hammer and anvil elbows, and then he locked on the cattle mutilation for the submission victory here. Good matchup here. I thought that it told the correct story for where Yuta is at. Henry taking advantage of Yuta's absent-mindedness until he brought up Bryan Danielson, and then it just basically clicked the switch for Yuta here, who just completely exploded and snapped. And it really feels like they are gearing up and setting up Wheeler Yuta to be a very crucial and pivotal part of the BCC implosion angle, one way or another, whether he picks the side of his mentor, Bryan Danielson, or he picks the side of the people that he's holding the AEW World Trios Championships with, Pac and Claudio Castagnoli, as well as one of his other mentors in Jon Moxley. I thought Wheeler Yuta was an absolutely fantastic character on this. I said it on the Fightful post show last night with Iridian. Shout outs to Iridian, one of the great podcasters in the world of wrestling media. Had a great time talking to her about this episode, but it really feels like Wheeler Yuta is like, I can relate to him. I'm a child of divorce. And it really feels like Wheeler Yuta is a child of divorce. He's split in the middle of his mom and his dad, whoever you want to say. Maybe you say, Bryan Danielson is a little softer on him, so he's the mother, and Jon Moxley is the father, and he's split in the middle. He doesn't know which side he's going to go on, but he's very distraught of what happened to his mother being suffocated by his dad. It's like, I'm a child of divorce. I get it, Yuta. I'm with you. The Wheeler Yuta has never been more relatable to me in his entire time, and he has never showed off this type of character range since he's come into All Elite Wrestling. I think that he did a splendid job showing off his character work coming off the heels of the BCC implosion, and this was kind of the only way to progress the story on this episode of Collision. No Moxley, no Claudio, no Pac, no Bryan Danielson on this episode, but Wheeler Yuta kind of held it on his own, held the back of the fallout of the BCC implosion from All Out on this episode here. We got Alex Powell in the chat who says Yuta is going to be Alex Payne from the Nigel versus Danielson match, where he helps him get in the ring after one of the BCC interfere in the Grand Slam matchup. I could definitely see Wheeler Yuta being in Bryan's corner during that matchup and rooting him on, giving him the encouragement that he needs against Nigel McGuinness, coming off the heels of getting choked out at All Out. Backstage, Alexi Nair has a chat with the one and only Queen Amanada, as well as Serena Deeb. Deeb says that she asked her this time because Amanada has a lot of potential, but she wasn't ready to be a top star. Her offer to join Deeb's dojo stood still, but Amanada didn't have time for it. She says that she had a match of her own to get ready for. Deeb turned her attention to her opponent for tonight, which was the aforementioned Yuka Sakazaki. She says she brought up their abandoned feud from earlier this year and saying that the mere thought of fighting Deeb caused Sakazaki to break her leg and that Deeb would make things much worse tonight. I like how this started kind of a show-long thread that basically it was very much of what I've been saying about AEW, whether it be on AEW A Ramble or here on Collision Discourse over the last couple of months. Setup and delivery. AEW has been doing a better job of setting something up on one show that progresses in another, or from early on in the show that progresses throughout the night. And this Amanada Serena Deeb promo and face-to-face backstage set up the story for both of their matches later on in the evening. Speaking of the women's division, you have Anna Jay is back, and she is backstage. She talked about her Japanese tour in Stardom, being a part of the 5-Star Grand Prix, noting that she was tired and beat up, but still wanted more. She owed Mariah May a receipt and had never been in the ring with Mercedes Moné. She's got her sights set on the AEW Women's World Championship and TBS Championship. Jay said that if anyone wanted to see how much better she was, they could try her. Good promo work from Anna Jay. I'm interested to see what's next for her. And like I said, between the Amanada and Serena Deeb backstage segment, Yuka Sakazaki and Mariah May, and then this promo here, there was a lot of world building for the women's division. You know, we currently have, Mercedes Moné is the TBS champion, Mariah May is the AEW Women's World Champion. A lot of the rivalries that we had going into like All In, All Out have kind of progressed or finished up for now, whether it be Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander at All Out, whether it be Mercedes and Britt, as well as Mariah May and Toni Storm, whether it be Thunder Rosa and Deonna Purrazzo, who finished off their feud just before All In. A lot of those matches are done. I do think that Thunder Rosa revealed on Busted Open Radio that she's dealing with a minor concussion right now after that Fatal 4-Way matchup, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was on that that vicious looking detox that Serena Deeb gave to her, where she almost folded on her neck. So thankfully it's just a concussion and not more serious like a neck injury, because then she'll be out for a couple of months. We don't know how long she's going to be out with even a minor concussion, but I feel like she will be back sooner rather than later, a lot sooner than if she had a neck injury from that move. Next, we had a quick squash match. It was Commander, Private Party going up against John Cruz, Lord Crew, and Ren Jones. In a pre-match interview, Private Party wasn't happy with how their match got taken away from them on Dynamite by John Moxley's Fight Cult, not an official name, what they so called them, and said that they have never backed down from a fight. Cassidy said that they would cross paths at some point. And I wouldn't talk shit. I wouldn't talk shit, Isaiah. Mark. Not a wise decision. This was apparently meant to be the matchup that we were supposed to see on Dynamite, so nice continuity from AEW here. This was a quick squash. Like the rapid fire offense of the baby faces kept the local talent a little bit on their heels. Commander hits a big rope walk dive, then elevated. He hits the rope walk shooting star press, and then he elevates Quinn into position for the gin and juice, finished up by Isaiah Cassidy for them to pick up the win. So it looks like not the first rivalry for the new BCC or the new Combat Club, but this will at least be probably a TV matchup. Maybe on Dynamite or next week's Collision, we should see Commander and Private Party versus the new Combat Club. Next, we had Nigel McGuinness. They go over to the commentary table where Tony Schiavone asks Nigel McGuinness how he could be sure that Bryan Danielson would be competing at AEW Dynamite Grand Slam. McGuinness admits that he's not sure, nor is Tony Khan. He explained that Jon Moxley was only speculating that Danielson would miss Grand Slam. Since Darby Allin put his scheduled title shot against Danielson on the line instead, McGuinness asked for a match with Danielson in case he was cleared in time for the show. McGuinness said that if Danielson didn't show up, it would be out of cowardice, not out of physical inability. McGuinness explains that he and Bryan Danielson have a long-standing rivalry, and then threw to a highlight package that was absolutely outstanding. McGuinness with his old hair. We see all the great battles dating back to 2006 between Nigel McGuinness and Bryan Danielson. He says that no one had beaten Danielson as convincingly as he had. He says 16 years later, McGuinness was in the best shape of his life, while Danielson was a physical wreck. At the commentary desk, McGuinness said that even though Bryan Danielson would still be world champion after Grand Slam, he would still end Danielson's career in New York City. This wonderfully filled in, or it was a nice attempt to patch up the logic holes that was the setup for this matchup and the Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley match on Grand Slam. Very much playing off of the fact that Darby and Moxley have this close relationship where, like Darby said during the interview, he views Moxley as his hero, as a mentor in this business. So he just listened to Moxley and he believed Moxley when he said that Danielson was indisposed, thus giving him a reason to put his title shot on the line to prove himself against Moxley, to prove that he is ready to be the AEW World Champion. But Moxley was merely speculating, whereas Nigel went right to the source and said, hey, if Danielson is free, I want him at Grand Slam if he's medically cleared to perform. And if he's not medically cleared, that just means that he's scared of me. So I think they did a nice job of attempting to patch over the logic holes here. It was a fine attempt explaining that basically Moxley conned Allen into putting his title shot on the line, and then Allen. I mean, I really feel like if Allen. If Brian is healthy, then Darby should get the title shot. They worked themselves into this logic gap, but I think they did a good job of trying to explain things, and also I think they did a great job of explaining the rivalry between Nigel McGuinness and Bryan Danielson. Don't think your work is done there, AEW, though. I think they need to go one step further and do what I suggested on AE Ramble this week and do a sit-down interview with Nigel McGuinness, where he firmly explains what happened in their rivalry in Ring of Honor, and that both guys had the opportunity to make it to the big time. Nigel told the truth about his past injuries while Bryan lied. Bryan goes on to be a megastar in the business, a world champion all around the world, while Nigel, basically his career pretty much it went on a downslide after that, but then it finished up just a few years later, whereas Bryan Danielson was able to retire and then come back and become a world champion again, and now he's the AEW world champion. I think that will further add the layers and why people want to see this matchup, not only to buy a ticket if you're in the New York City area, but to watch it live on TBS for AEW Dynamite Grand Slam. Go one step further, and I think it's going to help the match be a lot more layered and well-rounded than it already is with the logic gaps that was the setup for this matchup. We got Alex Powell in the chat who says, I hope they show the last of McGuinness or Wrestling Road Diaries 1 when hyping Nigel versus Danielson. They got to show that, but they could also just have Nigel explain it. If Nigel has the rights to that footage, then sure. Yeah, for sure. You show the footage. But if he doesn't, I think it's best if you do like a sit-down interview with a Jim Ross. Jim Ross is always able to kind of put over that type of thing. Jim Ross has always kind of been the conscience of the fans, and he can act like he doesn't know why Nigel has this personal vendetta against Bryan Danielson. He understands that they fought in the past, but why has he been so active in bad-mouthing Danielson this long? Why does he want this match so bad? And I think that will add even more depth to this rivalry and the matchup coming up at Grand Slam. Do it on Dynamite this week. That is my suggestion to Tony Khan and AEW. Watch Collision Discourse because I talk more in depth without Jimmy shitting on stuff. Next, we had Yuka Sakazaki making her in-ring return. I love her theme song. I don't care what anybody says. I know it annoys the hell out of some of y'all, but it's great for me. AEW Women's World Champion Mariah May came out and joined the commentary, and my lord, Mariah May and Nigel McGuinness might be my favorite guest commentator and color commentator combination that I think I've heard this side of Timeless Tony Storm. She immediately comes out and says how she inspired
they basically start flirting with one another. I gotta change my mic because apparently my mic fell out here. There we go.
Hope I sound better now, guys. Do I sound better now? Yeah, it is now. Sorry about that. This is what happens when you're doing solo reviews. So they basically start flirting with one another for the duration of this matchup, and especially if you were watching on Triller TV. Oh my God, the horniness of Nigel McGuinness and of Mariah May was hilarious. At one point, Mariah May tells Nigel McGuinness, I heard you're fantastic in the ring. I heard you're quite stiff in the ring. Emphasis on stiff. And Nigel says, oh, we're getting X-rated. Oh my God. This is great. Great stuff. Mariah May learned a thing or two about guest commentary from Timeless Tony Storm. Sakazaki took Deeb around the world with a nice pinning combination, but Deeb came back with a neck breaker across the ropes. When we came back from commercial break, Deeb was working over the leg during the commercial break. Sakazaki was able to make her comeback, hitting a missile dropkick and a suplex. May kept assuming that Sakazaki was a child Tony Schiavone says that she's a 10-year pro, and Mariah May says she's 10 years old. Deeb hit a German suplex and a short arm clothesline for a near fall. Sakazaki fought out of the detox, though, got her in position for a sliding lariat for a near fall. Deeb hit a power bomb and then locked on a stretch muffler. Sakazaki got to the ropes and got back to her feet. They started trading forearms with one another until Deeb dropped her with a big clothesline. Deeb went for the detox once again, but Sakazaki was able to fight out of it, picking her up. A little bit of a struggle on the pickup, but she finally hits a Northern Lights bomb. And then she follows up, climbing the ropes off the apron, climbing the ropes to the top rope, and hitting the magical girl splash. Look at the elevation and the extension on the big splash here. Sakazaki picking up a big win over Serena Deeb here. After the matchup, Sakazaki was celebrating. She heads up the ramp where the AEW Women's World Champion Mariah May attacks her from behind. May looked for the Storm Zero on the stage, but Sakazaki was able to fight out of it and drops her with a big thrust kick. She then picks up the AEW Women's World title. She raises it in the air, giving us maybe a vision of the future, and then she hands the title back to Mariah May and then does her pose of the she's just the most wholesome and sweetest person in the world. Yuka Sakazaki. How can you not smile seeing Yuka Sakazaki? She does look like a 10-year-old. She does look like a 10-year-old in the face. Just in the face. She just looks so lovely. I want to pinch her cheeks. So Yuka Sakazaki picking up the win here. I thought it was a good matchup against Serena Deeb, and it was a quality win because Serena Deeb has been such a kind of like a prominent person, a perennial number one contender for the AEW Women's World Championship in the past. She was a part of the inaugural TBS Championship title tournament. We got a run-in. Say hi, everybody.
Where's everybody?
Say, send super chats. And she knocked off my headphones.
What's doing?
Harlan's being bad because she knocked off my headphones. Why are you doing that? That's what it's all about, guys. Listen to Harlem. Drop a thumbs up. Send a super chat. As we're riding down the home stretch of this episode of Collision. But I like the choice of Yuka Sakazaki as an opponent, as a challenger for the AEW Women's World Championship of Mariah May. I think Mariah May needs kind of like prominent baby faces who can get over with the crowd, and maybe you don't have the choices of like someone like a Thunder Rosa because she's out right now. Yuka Sakazaki coming in is a good choice if they're going to do a title match at Grand Slam. I would do Yuka Sakazaki there, and that sets up Mina Shirakawa to come back and return, and she gets the title match coming up at Wrestle Dream, because I think it should be an outside talent, and technically Mina Shirakawa is still part of the Stardom roster, so I think that makes the most sense to set up that matchup for Wrestle Dream. But Yuka Sakazaki is a good choice. I'm going to give Mariah May a run for her money in a good matchup at Grand Slam. We got Christopher Kidd in the chat. He says, I'm excited for the tag team match on Dynamite. It's been set up very well, and it was set up throughout this show here. We're going to get into that very shortly here. No doubt at all. But first, we had an Outrunners. Another synthesized video, the old school VHS tape type video, grainy indeed, with them working out in the gym. The Outrunners and the springboard, the boost of popularity that they've gotten as of late has been quite amazing to watch. It's been like a coming of age before our eyes of how popular the Outrunners have become. I said it on the Fightful post show last night after Collision. I will say it here. Outrunners, you're next. AEW World Tag Team Champion. You got to strike while the iron is hot, Tony, and the Outrunners are hot. We go to the parking lot where it's Top Flight meeting up with Lio Rush and Action Andretti. They had just came from eating, and Action Andretti is hot. He's angry about their recent results. He says that Top Flight had the opportunity to become AEW World Tag Team Champions, and they failed. Lio Rush had the opportunity to win the TNT Championship, and he failed. He said he went against Konosuke Takeshita on Rampage and he came up short. He was upset at all of them had lost big opportunities this week while the rest of the group tried to calm him down. Andretti grabs some food from Dante and throws it at a production truck. He says they needed to get their act together and they need to be going up against trios like House of Black and beating them. Speaking of which, House of Black had a couple of challenges, not just from Light, but also from the Righteous recently. So they were in their dark room. Matthew said that someone challenged them and that he didn't like their odds. I think they were referring to Top Flight, but they're also referring to the Righteous as well. And Brody says that if you want some, come bring it on. Basically, I like everybody gunning for the House of Black, former AEW World Trios champions. Maybe they should be the next Trios champions since the Blackpool Combat Club don't look like they on the same page right now. But speaking of the Trios division and former Trios champions, look at that smile. It was time for Juice Robinson and the Guns, the Bang Bang Gang, going up against Cage of Agony, Bishop Khan, Toa Leona, and Brian Cage. Early on, Khan cut off Austin Gunn with a lariat to take control after the opening exchanges. We go to a commercial break, and Colton gets a hot tag, and he starts running wild, scoring a near fall on a jumping chop on Leona's head. The referee missed a small package attempt, trying to clear the ring, allowing Leona to hit a big old pounce on Colton. You get a pendulum powerbomb on Colton by Cage of Agony, but that gets broken up by Austin Gunn. Austin low bridges Cage, so he hits the ropes, allowing Colton to drop both Gates of Agony with a big DDT. Robinson gets tagged in and he starts running wild. Cage counters the Juices Loose and hits a discus lariat. He starts running wild on all three men. We get everybody coming in for big moves. Another pendulum powerbomb gets cut off with the Guns hitting 310 to Yuma on Cage. They got rid of the Gates of Agony while Juice hits the Juices Loose on Brian Cage to pick up the victory here. Pretty decent showing here for the Bang Bang Gang. They're another one whose popularity is really boosted. It feels like since they got stripped of the AEW World Trios Championships, the bright side of that awful storyline decision is that it's made the Guns and Juice Robinson a little bit more sympathetic to the fans. And I think that's furthered their connection as baby faces since then. So I'm happy for them. Still think it was an awful decision. Still think Juice should have replaced Jay White as World Trios champions. And you could have still done the same thing of Christian Cage and the Patriarchy, beating them for the AEW World Trios championships and lined it up with the Trios titles on this Combat Club or Blackpool Combat Club or Blackpool Combat Club Implosion. Have that involved there. Or you could have kept it on the Bang Bang Gang and the Bang Bang Gang regain it, or House of Black regain it since all these trios are coming after him. There was a couple of different decisions that you could have made outside of the one that you did. That's what I think. Let me know if you think differently. We do have Christopher Kidd in the chat. He says, just when you think you have done it all, they do it again for the first time ever. How? Because they are the Outrunners. Look at that. That's how you promote. This guy's a natural born promoter, Christopher Kidd. We got a super chat donation from the good brother Will Chisholm. Thank you so much, Will. I appreciate the support. Riding solo, so I need those super chats and the love to help me out here. So you're gonna get 2 drops because everybody's gonna let Will
speak, bitch. Come on now. Oh my gosh, Shivani, what the hell is wrong with you?
And when Will Chisholm speaks, we must all
listen up, you prick.
Indeed. Will Chisholm says, I've never seen so many AEW fans crash out over the tag division like they are now. I get it's not 2019, but dang. No, there is. I agree with you, Will. I don't think you should be crashing out about the tag team division. You have the Outrunners who have legitimately become a legitimate act that is drawing as far as merchandise sales, as far as these big reactions that they got in Chicago, Louisville, Kentucky, and now in Dayton. Like, they are gaining steam. You still got FTR, who's still one of the best tag teams in the world today. You still got the Young Bucks, who anytime Nick Jackson wants to flip a switch, they become a very good to even great sometimes tag team. Whatever's going on with the Combat Club, we may get a new tag team of a Pac and Claudio Castagnoli. Sign me up for that shit. Like, there is good potential here, and maybe we get a Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay tag team moving forward. You got the Grizzled Young Veterans here now. The Acclaim are still together, but they're over. And MXM Collection, like, it seems like with MXM Collection and the Outrunners, having an established gimmick that you are committed to is getting over with the AEW fans. And I don't think it's a time to crash out. It's to look at those positives and get behind them, so AEW will use those tag teams more. And I think that this episode overall put a highlight on the tag teams that they are really kind of trying to build to bring the tag team division back up. It was a nice attempt to showcase the tag team division on the Casino Gauntlet. For me, it highlighted some of the issues that not all the tag teams are quite over, but it did hit on some of them. That was my daughter pressing something she wasn't supposed to press. So I apologize for anybody wearing headphones that had to hear that. We do have in the chat Christopher Kidd, who says, "Speak, bitch." Absolutely. He also says, "Just when they've done it all, they do it all again for the first time. How? Because they are the Outrunners." And he says they should have kept carrying through the 3 styles of belt. Yo, thank you, Christopher Kidd, because I was a big component of that, especially when Jay White was carrying all 3 sets of his titles on the bat. That was just a cool look. Like, he was killing it with that. They should have kept doing that, but sad what they did. Alex Powell, good point. They have one of the best tag teams in the entire company, and they're not together in Roddy Strong and Kyle O'Reilly. I thought when Kyle O'Reilly returned in March that they immediately would have had him join the Undisputed Kingdom. And I think the Kingdom deserve more reps on AEW television because they are a great tag team as well. But having a split of Roddy choosing his friend Kyle O'Reilly and having him feud with the Kingdom for a little bit, and then Roddy and Kyle O'Reilly becoming a tag team in the tag team division, that would be great. Hell, give me Mark Briscoe and Kyle O'Reilly, 2 tag team specialists, the conglomeration. Put them as a tag team in the tag team division instead of doing random trios matchups with them not even acknowledging that there's trios titles, and they've been in the trios division pretty much for months now. So there is a couple of different ways. The solutions for the AEW tag team division is not them going out of their way to get a free agent. Yes, it would have been great for AEW to sign the Motor City Machine Guns, but the Motor City Machine Guns get in the bag to have some bangers with Axiom and Nathan Frazier over in NXT. You got the Lucha Bros about to leave AEW to go over to WWE and have some bangers with the Street Profits and DIY and probably the Bloodline, Judgment Day, New Day down the road. I'm all for that. I'm all for the tag teams that are going over to WWE and getting the bag over there and having great matches over there. But AEW already has in-house some great tag teams, some of the best tag teams in the world. FTR, GYV, the Young Bucks. They have some great tag teams. Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly, the Undisputed Era, right there at their disposal. They just need to use it more. They have some of the best tag team wrestlers of all time. Mark Briscoe, Claudio Castagnoli. Give it to me. Come on. The solutions are in-house. It's not about signing a free agent. It's not about bringing in a new team. You have all the teams to make your tag team division something that is fun and enjoyable and entertaining again. You just need to use it. Rush and Mortos. Give me that. Give me that. Hell yeah. I'm with you, Christopher. I'm with you, Alex. Give me Mortos and Rush. Get Rush the hell up out of the Don Callis family. An angry Serena Deeb was backstage in the back when Queen Amanada walked past her for her matchup, and she mockingly asked Deeb, is that how it's done? Love the cockiness. And then we get Queen Amanada one-on-one with Robin Renegade. Renegade gave a solid effort to her in her hometown, but Amanada was able to pick up the win even after a deadly looking DDT. Shit, that was nasty. Deadly looking DDT. Amanada was able to pick up the win though because she hits the brain drain headbutt for the 1-2-3, getting another victory under her belt after taking the loss to Mariah May in the AEW Women's World Title Eliminator matchup on Dynamite. But after the match was the more interesting part of this, as Serena Deeb jumped Amanada from behind after the match, chop blocking her in the leg. Deeb held Amanada in her single leg crab, the Serenity Lock, for a while until the referee court had to force her away. So furthering this non-title feud between Serena Deeb and Queen Amanada, I am all for it. Non-title feuds in the women's division is why the women's division has been elevated in 2024. It's not just been the title scene, which has had great champions like Timeless Toni Storm, like Mercedes Moné's current run as TBS champion, Willow Nightingale as TBS champion. Before that, it's been the fact that we've had good non-title feuds like Willow Nightingale versus Chris Statlander, like Thunder Rosa versus Deonna Purrazzo. That has been the thing that has really brought everybody up to a different level, and why this women's division, in my eyes, is right now head and shoulders above the rest in North America. I think it's better than TNA and even better than WWE. Despite WWE having a better women's roster, I think the booking and the usage of the AEW women's division has been the best in North America this year. More serenity locks by Serena Deeb. And yes, this all sets up everything that happened in the women's division, set up a very interesting tag team matchup coming up on Dynamite this Wednesday, as it will be Queen Amanada teaming up with Yuka Sakazaki to versus AEW Women's World Champion Mariah May and Serena Deeb in tag team action. Sign me up for that. And bring back Mercedes. We got to see what's next for the TBS champion after another disappointing matchup on pay-per-view. Hey, you on the clock, Mercedes. You on the clock. You need to redeem yourself for the past 2 pay-per-views. You got to redeem yourself at Wrestle Dream. And then finally, we closed off this episode of Collision with FTR, Cash Wheeler, and Dax Hardwood going up against the Grizzled Young Veterans, James Drake and Zach Gibson. This one was an interesting choice in the main event here. Hardwood and Drake traded shots early on, with Wheeler scoring a quick count on a slingshot shoulder block. Drake dragged Hardwood to their corner and got a tag to Gibson, who helped Drake hit some quick offense on Hardwood to get the upper hand. Wheeler laid out Gibson with a big lariat, allowing Hardwood to get a near fall on Drake with a sunset flip. Hardwood hit a belly-to-belly suplex as we went to commercial break. After we come back from commercial break, the veterans had control of Hardwood in their corner, hitting another flurry of offense to keep Hardwood from making the hot tag. Hardwood made the tag eventually, but Gibson was able to distract the referee coming back inside to distract them slightly for James Drake to pull Hardwood back into their corner. Hardwood ducked a leg lariat by James Drake and made his way to the corner for the legal tag, allowing Wheeler to come in and start running wild on both men. Drake countered a power slam into a small package for a near fall. Gibson snuck a tag, holding Wheeler in place for Drake to hit an enziguri. They went for the grit your teeth, but Hardwood was able to pull Drake out of the ring. We got a pinning predicament ending with Drake cutting off a spiked power driver and Gibson hitting a hammerlock driver himself. Wheeler cut off a doomsday device attempt by GYV, allowing Hardwood to lock on a sharpshooter. Wheeler stood guard as James Drake was submitted, tapped out to the sharpshooter here. So no shatter machine, no spike power driver. FTR picking up the win with the sharpshooter here. James Drake tapping out, but the veterans kept brawling after the matchup, attacking FTR, getting the better of them, taking out Hardwood first and then taking out Wheeler as well. It looked like they had the upper hand to close the show when the Outrunners came out to make the save to a huge pop from this Dayton, Ohio crowd. Outrunners running wild with big power slams and making the save for FTR. The GYV got out of the ring and escaped from further assault, but then the Outrunners looked at FTR. They had a moment in time. Everybody stood in time as they stuck out their hand to FTR and said, FTR, you son of a bitch. And FTR accepted, and we got the FT Outrunners. FT Outrunners, baby. FT Runners are here to stay. Outrunners and FTR closing the show together, celebrating a new alliance in the AEW tag team division was born here. We got a nice little 2 to 3 minutes of the baby faces celebrating, standing tall with Harwood and Wheeler doing some pose downs with the Outrunners who love to pose themselves. And then that's when Tony Schiavone and Nigel McGuinness got the chance to run down the card for Dynamite, including the aforementioned women's tag team matchup of Mariah May and Serena Deeb versus Queen Aminata and Yuka Sakazaki, as well as the already announced Elite versus Don Callis family and Will Ospreay, and also Chris Jericho going one-on-one with Orange Cassidy. And then next week on Collision, it will be Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara following what happened on Rampage. They get a rematch against Matt Taven and Mike Bennett of the Undisputed Kingdom in a bunkhouse brawl for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. Fun close to the show and a good matchup. I thought FTR and GYV was a good, solid matchup, but it did also leave a lot on the bone for a future match between the two. I don't think the feud is over by a long shot, especially after the post-match beatdown of GYV. GYV, I think, should have been the team to get the win here. That's my big point of contention with this. I think that GYV, you should put them over them just coming into AEW. I don't know if they signed a long-term contract or not with All Elite Wrestling, but if you're going to use them, you should put them over here. And I feel like FTR is Teflon at this point, that they could take the loss and GYV would look better coming out of this. Maybe it's a series of matches that we're going to see and GYV win the next one before FTR win the final one. But I think here in their first matchup against each other, this was the time to give the Grizzled Young Veterans the victory here. That is my only nitpick there, but it's a minor one because it was a good matchup. I just would have had James Strait and Zach Gibson get the win, and then they could do a post-match beatdown, and the Outrunners still come out. You could have still done everything that you did here. I just think that it was the right time to put over GYV in this instance. But GYV in the main event, I will not complain. FTR always delivering, and the Outrunners, our next AEW World Tag Team Champion. Just imagine a feud between these goofy EVPs and the even goofier Outrunners. It's entertainment. It's entertainment, baby. It's entertainment. And the Outrunners win in the end to become the new AEW World Tag Team Champions. We do have another super chat donation from Christopher Kidd. Thank you so much, Christopher Kidd. Appreciate y'all support. Appreciate you, Alex Powell, Will Chisholm, always showing your support, showing up in the chat for me today for Collision Discourse, adding and making this a discourse about Collision, which is the aim of the show. He says, let's give it up to non-title feuds in AEW. Like, they have so many titles that sometimes we don't get non-title feuds, but when we do, we appreciate it. Thank you, Christopher Kidd. I'm with you there. We also got Alex Powell in the chat who says, man up ladder match is still awesome with the video package before the match and the angle after with the Age of Fall. Agree with you. One of my favorite angles in ROH history. And for Christopher Kidd's super chat, we're going to give him one of these.
Tony Khan, this is also on you, because you can stop this.
Indeed. But yes, thank you guys for joining me today for Collision Discourse number 41 for the September 14, 2024 edition of AEW Collision. Final call for super chat donations. Appreciate Christopher Kidd and Will Chisholm for showing some love for me today. But if you want to show some love and hit the $, any dollar amount matters. I always appreciate the support. So final call for that. But most of all, let me know your match of the night, your MVP, your LVP, your thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle for the show. And out of 10, what did you give last night's show for AEW Collision? For me, for the September 14, 2024 edition of AEW Collision in 3, 2, 1. It's going to get a thumbs up for me. And this was a rare occasion. If you watch AE Ramble, I'm going to rate Collision higher than Dynamite. I think that the storytelling and the creative was a little tighter on Collision than it was on Dynamite. I think that Dynamite is the main show. It's always the main show for AEW, but there was a lot of logic holes in the setup for what's going down at Grand Slam with Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin and Nigel McGuinness versus Bryan Danielson, whereas this episode either tried to patch up the issues that I had with Dynamite with the Nigel McGuinness promo and video package setting up his matchup, or anything else. It really tried to patch that up, and it was a little tighter on the storytelling. So that is why I'm going to give Collision a 7.5 out of 10. Good show this week, and really good stuff when it comes to the tag team division, and especially the women's division on this show, and Wheeler Yuta's excellent character work throughout the show. Great stuff right there, and everything else, even if I didn't like it, it was fine. It was quick and easy to get past. Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy feud. My MVP for the show, Outrunners is close. I see Christopher Kidd gives it to the Outrunners. They're close, but I'm actually going to give it to Wheeler Yuta. Wheeler Yuta's character was chef's kiss on this show. The promo backstage, the matchup with Anthony Henry, his character work was superb on this show. So I got to give it to him. Honorable mention to the Outrunners. I see King in the chat saying Outrunners. Man, Outrunners wanted, I said, the next AEW World Tag Team Champions. Let's get on the Outrunners bandwagon. I'm starting the Outrunners bandwagon right here, right now. Let me know in the chat if you're a part of the Outrunners bandwagon. I'll send you newsletters. You're getting hats. We're getting t-shirts. And we're running with the Outrunners. Next AEW World Tag Team Champions. So Wheeler Yuta is my MVP. LVP for the show. I kind of am in agreement with Christopher Kidd. Like I said, my big point of contention with the main event, it was a good matchup, but GYV taking a loss made no sense. So I'm going to go co-LVP for GYV and for Chris Jericho. Why did he need to be on this show? We did 2 segments with Jericho on Wednesday. Did we really need another one? Why? And match of the night, I think it was a tie for me. I'm going to give it to Yuka Sakazaki versus Serena Deeb and FTR versus GYV. So Yuka Sakazaki, glad she is back. She's so much fun, so likable, so lovable. Love Yuka Sakazaki. And actually, I'm going to give the edge. I'll say that's an honorable mention. Match of the night for me is FTR and GYV. I had less problems because there was a little mixed cues in Yuka and Serena D, so honorable mention for them. But my main match of the night, I'm going to try not to do too many co's. So my main match of the night is FTR and GYV. Good matchup. My only issue is GYV should have won. But that is for me. You can, if you're watching us on demand, let me know in the comments down below what you thought about this week's AEW Collision. Who was your match of the night, your MVP, your LVP, your thumbs up, your thumbs down, your thumbs in the middle for the show? And out of 10, what did you give the show as well? King says the Jericho Vortex. It's like we're all stuck in it. It's like we're all stuck in it. We can't escape. Even Tony Schiavone's brain is in the Jericho Vortex. He thought Jericho won against Mystico. CMLL ain't doing that dumb shit. What? Huh. But yes, that is all for me this week on Collision Discourse. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me in the chat. Thank you so much if you're watching us on demand. Remember to drop the thumbs up on this video. Share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you're new to the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. I will be live tomorrow, 1:05 p.m. Eastern time, like I did today, but not here, on the True Hill Heat Sports and Entertainment YouTube channel. So go and follow us and subscribe over there. We're closing in on 700 subscribers on that channel. And we'll also have some live streams, I believe, for Sunday Night Football tonight with Romeo and the gang. But I will be live tomorrow, 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time with Miss Chrissy Love for our Power Book 2 Ghost Season 4 review for Episode 7. I Can't Fix This. Join us for that. Should be a lot of fun, as we always do with our Power Book 2 Ghost Season 4 reviews. I will be back here on this channel, 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday for Rated Raw review, reviewing this week's Monday Night Raw. So we got plenty of content for you to enjoy, whether it be on sports entertainment, whether it be here on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel. You go to patreon.com/True Hill Heat, where we also got exclusive content over there. I'll be doing a review of TNA Victory Road over there, so be on the lookout for that. And I will actually be live. See, this is why I try to make my outros long, because I remember something. Not live tomorrow on True Hill Heat Sports and Entertainment at 1:05. It's going to be 2:05 p.m. Eastern Time. 2:05 p.m. Eastern Time. Had to make that change. But 2:05 p.m. Eastern Time for our Power Book 2 Ghost Season 4 review. 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday. Rated Raw review. 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. AE Ramble. Y'all know the deal. Y'all know what to do. Stay locked here on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at True Hill Heat. And of course, get all the great content that we got here on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel right now. Like our flagship podcast, True Hill Heat 294, Hurting for Machine Guns, and Fox, talking about AEW coming to Fox, possibly a possibility in their TV rights negotiations. Motor City Machine Guns over at coming over to WWE, All Out, Fallout, and we had special guest Rich Port Ayala talking all things WWE, AEW, TNA, and New Japan Pro Wrestling, as we always do. But until next time, this has been Collision Discourse number 41 for the September 14th, 2024 edition of AEW Collision. I am signing off until next time. Later, y'all.